Reflect is a roundtable discussion on technology. It is held every fortnight on a special topic of interest to the ICT community. E-governance policymakers, experts, practitioners and service providers gather at Governance Now's office to jam on relevant issues. The highlights of every roundtable discussions are captured in a special issue on the same topic in the magazine's GovNext section a few weeks later. Smart cards, the ticket to smart governance. That was the topic for the second Reflect Roundtable held on April 13th. Reflecting on the issue were Shri S.K. Sinha, Senior Technical Director, National Informatics Center, Shri S.K. Chakrabarti, Deputy Director General NPR, Shri D.L. Narayana, General Manager NICSI, Shri Dheeraj Jain, Deputy Director, Office of Registrar General and Census Commissioner, Shri Deepak Gupta, Deputy Director, Office of Registrar General and Census Commissioner, Shri Sanjeev Vij, Director, Enterprise Solutions, Sales, E-Governance, HCL Infosystems, and Shri Anurag Ashok, founder of eSmart Systems Private Limited. The session was moderated by Samir Sachdeva, Senior Editor, Governance Now. Here we capture the highlights through the opening remarks of each expert. Please stay tuned to listen to them or scroll down this page for the video of the full roundtable discussion.
Because if you give a pointed question, then it will be difficult. For example, explaining what is being done in for various projects, that's fine. And anything regarding technology, comparison of technology as such, that is also fine for me. Right. But then on policy issues and those issues.
So what we will encourage is we will like you to take it forward yourself, and we will not be actually putting out pointed questions, because our purpose is you all, working in the area, we just bring out the platform. In fact, it's important for us to also understand what is.
Yeah, that is fine. I think that should not be a problem.
Our approach is from that point of view.
Okay. That is fine.
So I think we'll start, and Mr. Vij can join us.
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for joining us on this panel discussion. And a couple of you joined at very short notice on this. I'll give you background that the purpose we started up with this series of panel discussion is we want to give a platform to our magazine, to our website, so that opinion of various stakeholders in industry, in government, academia, on various subjects of e-governance should be brought out to our readers as well. We had a panel discussion on cloud computing for public services last month, and this is our second in series. With that, I welcome you all, and I'll quickly introduce you all. Mr. Sinha is Senior Technical Director with NIC. Mr. Chakrabarti is PDG with the Registrar General Office, and then we have Mr. Narayana, who is GN Nixie. My friend Sanjeev has joined, who is Director Enterprise Solutions with HCL. Then we have Mr. Anurag Ashok, who is entrepreneur and owner of eSmart Systems Private Limited. We have Mr. Dheeraj Jain and Mr. Deepak Jain from Office of Registrar General and Census Commissioner. So I welcome you all. And to begin with, I'll go to Mr. Sinha for his. What I request you is we initially go with some initial comments and then take the discussion forward. So I'll request Mr. Sinha to take it forward with his initial comments.
As your topic today on the discussion on smart cards. So, a smart card technology use and its evolution in this country is a very area of success for the country, and which is not only brought in various advantages to our country, but also has been a big source of motivation globally to the technology providers, to various governments, departments, because there are 2-3 things which are very, very unique to this exercise, which we undertook in this country. somewhere beginning from somewhere in 2003, 2002, 2003. It all started with the problem of non-interoperability and the vendor lock-in by some governments in few states issuing driving licenses which were bind to a particular kind of technology, and other states were not able to read those chips, and they were not able to even, neither able to write any offenses and nor able to read the chip for the information regarding the car code. So, since the nature of the project, driving license, is such that the driving license issued by one transport authority of a state, the driver is entitled to drive the vehicle all across the country. Therefore, the interoperability all across the country was a paramount issue for the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, which could be made possible only if there is a standard. They understood the genesis of the whole thing. They approached us, NIC, to work out some kind of technology standards so that the same technology can be adopted by all the states, all the stakeholders, and the driving licenses which are issued, they comply to both things. So it took us a lot of efforts by a team led by National Informatics Center, which included the industry, smart card industry of this country, and also academia like IIT, and we came out with the standards, which not only were comprehensive standards, but also were the practically implementable standards, which were based on ISO standards. So it was something which was taken from ISO 7816, which is an international standard, and as many of the ISO standards, there were many gaps, there were many gray areas on ISO 7816 as such. What this team did, it line by line, word by word, examined all those standards and plugged the loopholes or plugged the gaps which were found in those standards, and because of which all the implementation earlier to that, which we are claiming that they are complying to ISO 7816, even after that they were not interoperable, and that was only because there were many gaps and the things were not so clearly defined in ISO 7816. That was actually something which this team took up as a challenge. They not only plugged those gaps, but also avoid some mechanisms which were absent in those standards to be incorporated into the Indian standard. And when we came out with the standard, it was the first of its kind in the world, which was a practically implementable technology standard for a smart card. The advantages were tremendous. The biggest advantage was that since it was a open source standard, there was no patent issues involved, there was no licensing issues involved. If I am a good C programmer and I have some knowledge of developing embedded systems, looking to those standards, I will be able to develop SCOSTA. SCOSTA was the name given to that. And the basic purpose of evolving SCOSTA was to free the technology from the hands of few handful companies. India had a lot of potential of software developers. By having this kind of standards, sky was the limit for the developers in this country to come out with their efforts, see the standard, start developing the programs, and get it implemented to various available hardware platforms. That brought in a revolution. out of the 60-70 Costa implementations, 60-70% of that are Indian companies, which are not only leading in the Indian market, but also have started taking up the international markets. Because Costa was something, which has been evolved from the international standard. It was something new which has been reinvented in this country. It was something which has been derived from the ISO and made a actual implementable standard. So that is why not just this country, but outside the country also there is a lot of motivation for others to adopt these standards. Now, government, NIC as such, not just evolve the standards and put it on the open source. It actually provided the required ingredients, or I'll name it the ecosystem, for any smart card based e-governance system to implement. So if we go in, indeed, we will find that it is not, standard is definitely necessary for the user to have a confidence. Okay, the things which they are going to implement is a standard one. It is not vendor locked. It is not technology locked, and there are n number of players which can provide that technology. So that's one very big confidence which a user can have, like NPR or PDS or RSPY, anything. Then, in addition to that, any smart card based project requires few more things. A complete security framework. Because in every project which uses smart card, security is something which is the first thing required. Whether it is NPR, which is security stakes are very high. Whether it is PDS, there also we want to have some security to stop the leakages. In case of project like RSBY, where we would like that only the actual beneficiary is able to get the service delivered, or any other payment, financial inclusion, or maybe e-passport, driving license, all these projects which is common to everybody is the security. They want to identify in a foolproof manner the beneficiary or the cardholder. So NIC, apart from evolving the standards, provided a very healthy ecosystem and all the required ingredients to implement a smart card based project. Those ingredients, for example, to have, NIC has established a test and certification lab. For example, I am a developer who claim that, okay, I have developed my software operating system based on the standards ecosystem. There has to be someone who can test it and say that, yeah, actually it is actually complying to those standards. Because if it does not comply to those standards, it may not be interoperable later on.
So it's a NIC lab which is...
Exactly. NIC has established a lab jointly with STQC, which is also a government body. So the technology part with us, the administrative and other, legal and other things is from STQC, because they have been on the testing business. That is their core competence. NIC core competence is technology. So we joined hands together and we came out with a lab which not only tests it, but also give a certification that this particular product, which is from this company, is complying to Costa standards. So that was another thing which NIC did. And as I told, apart from evolving standard, having a test lab established, NIC came proactively to support the user departments, NPR, PDS, RSBY, e-passport, to provide them a key management system which is a key to security infrastructure. So issuing the card is just one thing, but then later on using that card for the purpose of either verification of the identity of the person or verifying the identity for the purpose of delivery of the service. In case of PDS, it is the commodity which is delivered. In case of RSBY, it is the health services which are delivered. In case of MNREGA, it can be a wages or something. So whatever kind of service delivery is there has to be some kind of security infrastructure in place for a smart card to actually deliver the required benefits. What is key management system? See, once we issue the smart card, the purpose of that, one, that it provides a mechanism that an individual can be verified, identified and verified in a foolproof manner. After we have done it, when we do it, it is that the person who verifies that he is the person who is claiming to be. Okay. Once that is done, then the second thing is to know his entitlement. How much quota of the food grains for the month is still left in his card, or in case of PY, how much is the amount of health service which he can still avail, and how much has been spent. So all that data also resides in the chip of the card. Since it resides on the chip of the card, it makes it possible to use that data without a network. Because it is written into the chip. Chip is highly secure, which data cannot be tampered on the chip. So we get a authentic data right at the place where the service is delivered. Yeah. So I'll show it. This is a national ID NPR card which has going to be issued. I think this is the postal.
Already issued.
This is already issued. So this is the card which is issued. So this card at the place of service delivery not only allows me to authenticate the identification of the person, but also gives me some data which is written on the chip which pertains to his entitlement category, entitlement, how much he has availed, how much is left over. Right. So all that data which is securely written inside provides me now reading that data and allowing a authorized person to modify or write it back in this. That part can be performed only with a robust security infrastructure. So security infrastructure on the one hand provides the mechanism that no one is able to unauthorized access to this chip. On the other hand, the security infrastructure also provides the mechanism that the authorized people, for example the fair price shop owner or the hospital where the service is being delivered, they can access it. Right. And only they can do some modification into it, no one else can do it. So this infrastructure is a crucial for any smart card based or identity based application to work smoothly in the field. So these are the three things which NIC provided to all the user departments for any smart card based system to grow and flourish. And by the grace of God, now we are actually NIC is implementing the project like NPR with RGI, e-passport with the help of the e-passport story had been a little bit more challenging and more interesting also. There is an international organization called International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO. They had evolved certain standards for the chip which is to be embedded into the back cover of the passport. Technology is same. Instead of embedding it into plastic, the same chip is embedded into the back cover of the passport. Chip technology remains same. So there, the standards which were evolved by ICAO, they were based on their requirement, and their requirement was that the passport which I carry to any country in the globe should be readable, chip should be readable. So their interoperability definitions were limited only to the readability of the chip. Since their standards, technology standards were also based on ISO 7816, which we also adopted. So it made us, it made it possible to have a marriage of Indian standards with the ICAO standards. So, because Indian standards were also based on ISO standards, they were also based on ISO standards, but their standard was limited only to readable interoperability, and our interoperability was a super thread overhead, which not only provides the reading interoperability and verification interoperability, it also provides writing interoperability, chip writing interoperability. For example, if a contract has been given to a vendor who is responsible for writing data into the chip for 5 years, after 5 years it should not so happen that if the contract is gone, I should land up replacing all the chips. So, without any technology lock-in, without any, and that has attracted a lot of attention from the global, technology providers. And they had actually seen Indian experiment. Okay, India has come out, and believe me, the cost of the e-passport issued by the rest of the country, minimum $15 to $20. Can you imagine what is the cost of Indian e-passport? The cost of chip is just less than $2 or $3, and if you take the complete cost of the passport, it will not more than $5 to $6.
Yes, sir. Booklet and the delay is only additional cost.
And without any compromise with the security, without any compromise with the quality, our passports are much better than many other countries, and the cost is so less. So this has been a motivation for other countries to learn from our this whole experiment.
I think Mr. Sinha has rightly set the tone for the discussion. With that, I come to Mr. Chakrabarti for his initial comments on how things are moving in this matter.
See, what he has told, I will just add few things. This Office of Registrar General and Census Commission is basically a census office. That is their main bread and butter is census every 10 years. We call jokingly that 8 years we sleep, and the last 2 years we just wake up and conduct the census and again go for sleep. Like Kumbhakar. That is part. See, what he said is, during the time of 2003-04, my history goes back slightly beyond that. Basically, if you see that identity cards, they started in the government sector in long back, maybe other kind of documents were taken as identity. 60s, 70s, we knew that ration card is your identity. Whatever names of the family are there in the ration card, they are the family members. If a newborn is there, then they have to add in the ration card. That became our identity document. Wherever we went, that was the proof. Later, if you see the history, the Election Commission, they started issuing the voter ID card. So that became our identity card. Government sector in the security or the Ministry of Home Affairs, if you see, it started in 1986. Some paper cards were given to the border areas. In Jaisalmer, Rajasthan. Then 1993, there was an attempt to issue a bill, especially a bill in the parliament, so that this same project can be extended to other areas of the border states, all the border states. But due to some reason, it was allowed to lapse. It was not passed in the parliament. Things started moving or becoming hot after the Kargil War. And the Kargil War, our review committee on internal security, they submitted a report wherein they were really alarmed in the intrusion of the illegal migrants in the country. So they said it should become a compulsory to register everybody, every citizen in the country. Government accepted the report in 2001. 2003, when the Coast Guard was being developed, our first pilot project started in most of the border areas. Selected tehsils, around 30.86 lakh population. Most of the states were all border, from Jammu Kashmir to even Tamil Nadu, taking care of all the borders of all near countries, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, then Sri Lanka. Those, when it started, we selected a pilot project area. It was considered that let us first do it in the pilot area. Those borders, then go into the internet, cover the entire country. That those were the recommendations. We, MHA, we followed it into it. Because it was citizen-centric, so we had to amend the Citizenship Act 1965. New rules were framed in 2003, and accordingly this pilot phase started. Parallelly, when Costa was developed, the technical committee was set up by MHA. whether it's a paper card or a smart card, whatever type of smartness should be there, how the card should be prepared. The smart cards were totally not available in the card. Driving license they started on such a scale because the idea was whatever be the results of the pilot, it would ultimately scale up to the country. So the technical committee went through each aspect of the smart card: body, security features, key management system, chip, what type of chip, SCOSTA, what is the size of the chip, everything. So many subgroups were there. They formed the basis, and those recommendations, once finalized, were approved by the government, and we implemented into the pilot. That was our hand in hand with NIC. And we deployed the public sector entities, which are also defense or atomic energy, ECL, BE and IT. They produced our cards for the first time. It was a real learning process. We took 6 years to implement the pilot. Right from the canvassing of the form in the villages in those areas, collecting details, the census approach, up to the delivery of the smart card. All the processes what he told were tested, finalized. These are all the things which we should do when citizens do. Actually, we went to the government and we told me that this is the thing. Only the main blockade was our act says the card should be issued to the citizens of India. The outcome of the experience of pilot was there with us. Proving the citizenship is the most difficult part in our country. Nobody thought of it. First, second, no document base was there in the rural area, especially the ladies and the rural laborers, the poorer part. They never had any document to show that I am a citizen of India. Citizenship is a very complicated matter. So the government considered and they told me that since it is a very complex issue, this should be tackled in a phased way. We were approaching 2010, so a group of ministers they recommended in 2007-8, we should have the NPR, the population register first. From there, it's a filtered documents. Later, at least we should have a complete unique database with us at single place. All the silos are there. Everybody has their own database. Today, if you see driving license, they have got their database. Same 5 or 6 fields which are really required to identify a person. Those are available in silos. Nobody can talk to each other. So we started telling that there should be a unique scheme, unique ID scheme, which originally was based on the amalgamation of 3 databases: Election Commission India Voter List, or Electoral Roll, PDS and the BPA. We started with that premise. By the time these would be tested and UID's number should be seen in all those databases, after field verification, by the time our NPR would be over and we come back to the government with this in mind. That becomes the modern database. With this concept, we canvassed the NPR schedule in the country. In between something happened, this 2611 in Bombay. So we were immediately told, prepone your NPR in the coastal areas. So right on the coast, we selected, the state they selected around 3,331 villages in all coastal states. Entire Andaman was done, entire Lakshadweep was done. We were told to immediately do the NPR by direct data entry system. Like NIC, they developed themselves in a platform. We also learned a lot. The first time we prepared with the help of NIC and the CPSUs, my partners, technical partners. Direct data entry system, directly we went to the field villages, collected the demography data, wrote it on the other set of laptop, went with the fingerprint device. Entire software development was totally by us. Indigenously developed, tested, and then implemented. Today outcome is this card. First set already gone, delivered in January. More than 2.5 million cards have already produced and been sent to residents. Difference between the pilot project and this was that today we are issuing the card to the student. Because citizenship we can later on add. There is no problem for adding in the citizenship in the database. Later on if we can mark in the card, that is a branch. But as for the mandate of the government, we are going ahead. Our main scheme for the issuance of cards, the smart cards, would be is under discussion, active consideration of the government. final decision is yet to be taken. So naturally I cannot comment on the outcome. At the first round of meeting, maybe this month end or next month first, we can have the second round of meeting and then the government would express their desire. But if this has been, all these statements, the parliament or the finance minister budget speech says that government is considering this proposal of issuance of identity card with Aadhaar number on it, so that the service delivery platform can be achieved through a single card. Aadhaar number is already there and the smart card is there to identify the person keeping at the back of the services. One approach. Second approach, people they always tell, why can't you load the application with the card? When this coastal card was being discussed at the Committee of Secretary level, all the secretaries of the Government of India, all the top brasses, they had a real detailed discussion with DG and IC and all stakeholders of the National E-Governance Platform. It was decided because the security implications are too high in our card, let us not disturb the card. It would be totally secure. All the identity particulars should be stored in the chip. No other application should be loaded on it. Till today we are going with that particular decision because this has not been revised. Future we cannot tell. But still people are saying yes, this can be used as an identifier with a small reader and back end provide the services. There is no need to load because you start loading on the application. Then the state government which are having so many schemes, like for I think Delhi has got 46 social welfare schemes. You can load 46 schemes on the particular card. At the back end you can do anything. So these things are pros and cons are there. They may be thinking that there may be some basic schemes which are really required to be rolled out in the rural areas like Narendra, PDs. These two are the main schemes which we can thought of. Whether their applications can be loaded or not. No decisions have been taken yet, and perhaps this would be discussed at a very higher forum. We are under discussion with some of the departments how to use this particular resident identity card. Regarding the security scenario, what he told, 2 or 3 comments. My USP is always an IC. Whenever I tell, this card cannot be cloned. Why? Because this chip has got a key management system, which nobody knows. The key generation is something to be seen, which is done in their CA office, where RGI, DG, they went and the process they were followed, everything was videographed and those are lock and key, everything is kept. All the master cards, seed cards are in the locker, in the vault. So these are kept as a security. If I issue a card, that is my prerogative to issue a card to the last line who will be verifying the user card. I know what are my setups. If I go by the revenue authority, Tehsildar is my last setup, where we will be setting up the permanent NPR center for continuously updating and maintenance of the data. He will be provided the VA card and he can verify the anybody and issue the benefits. So those security are always built in the chip through the PKI infrastructure, and that all comes from the technical community. So we have evolved and come to a platform where we can tell yes, we are confident that this smart card is a card which cannot be cloned. People have claimed that I have hacked the chip. The reply which was given is that I could change the data. I entered the chip. I saw what is there but could not change. Whatever standards prescribed by the technical committee based on NIC's input and the other all technical experts is being followed and would be followed naturally. We cannot deviate. Even the process of production of car, the material, even the hologram. So many car vendors they come, they show this kind of thing, UV and all those things. These are considered by the subgroup. They don't. Electronic security is my USP. Why should I go for physical security so much? So converging on that, we have only 2 physical security in the car, one the microtext and then the 3D one hologram, which has got their designs and entire designing is being done by the National Institute of Design. That's also government. So we work within the government setup always. A lot of people they claim why you are not providing the cards we produce outside the country. No, because the committee which sat on these kind of things, they don't know. Everything should be in India, and I think we proved for the first time in the pilot project. Everything was brought from outside. Chip comes from outside. Plastic comes from outside. Hologram was that module was prepared in Russia, printed to UK. Brought it here, but assembly was totally done here. Even the personalization of the data, which is resident data, is so important for us. The fingerprint and the biometrics. done in the cities or premises. So at least we can tell data which is totally signed by my officials. If it is a Kerala card, by Kerala one of the officer, he is provided the digital signature card. Then it is signed by my people from my headquarters, DP division. Double locking, double digital signature, software, etc. all NIC's contribution. So we work hand in hand only to show that this is the government of India mainly project with emphasis on security. So nobody can clone the database or nobody can misuse the card. Those things we have tested the pilot. You can say this is a bigger pilot in that sense, the coastal one. 7.5 million cards will be issued and later we take up the national one. This is all I can say. Whatever has been, I think he has already told what type of things are there in the card. I've just remembered how we are going side by side. Technology and the process, outcome. Any questions are there?
Yeah. Mr. Nair, I'll next come to you. Your initial comments, how you and NIC foresees the smart card.
NIC as a part of NIC under DIT is a sort of enabler of the services, the IT-enabled services in the government sector. As I think already Sinhaji and experiences in this NPR, they have a lot of evaluation and a lot of research into the product and standardization of the these things. But NIC has a very short role to play. We have a lot of role in playing in implementing the services. Like we have this open tender based empanelment system. So we have a list of empaneled vendors to implement these services, like collecting the personal data based on various factors required, like biometric or even photo based, and sort of criteria, and as well card printing. Today we have through the empanelment, card printing is for 32 KB cards we have just for 25 rupees, and for 64 KB we have about 33.80 paisa. These things are there. So cost is pretty much like it's not factored at all in this technology. Whereas when I have gone through the technology, like sometimes I think I have to mention this, I wondered at this key-based polynomial and key-based security features that they have provided. When I have gone through this IIT presentation, as well as Sir had also spoken about that. And also it is something like different people, it looks differently. Like in RTA application, this transport application. Transport authority, it should have different privileges, whereas the constable who is booking the person, offences, it should have a different perspective, whereas the judge who is judging the offence and awarding the punishment, he should have a different role-based office. So these windows are open in a particular, technologically they are quite nicely managed in in all these things. And
he is referring to the key management system has enabled multi-role-based authentication and access control. For example, there is a issuer which is RTO. Then there is a cop who is basically only empowered to write the offences. So he can only write the offences. He cannot change them or he cannot settle them. His authorization is only to write the offence, but that's what he is trying to point out. And the judge who is responsible for settlement of penalties or based on the offences which are written by the enforcing authority, he is able to do only that. So clearly the role definitions have been, enablement of that has been done with the even.
And the focus is on the limitation of the actual storage space. You don't have much of the storage space on the chip. So things are very much limited. And you cannot store elaborate security mechanisms into that. So I think it is a very brilliant idea to have a polynomial, a complex polynomial, I think I have seen. And only the key is supplied. Key is stored on the the chip.
Yes.
And it can be interpreted based on your requirement, and it can be manipulated as well. And coming to how NICSE operates in these issues like implementation of the smart card technology, we have, as I said, we have empanelment. We have, through these empanelments, we have various vendors listed with us, which were panelized through the tender, through our new procurement system. And also rates are also fixed based on the L1 procurement system. And we have different MOUs signed with the implementation agencies, for example the state government or even the central government. And through these things, there is a combination of things like one side there is the vendors, there is NICSE and the user department, and the fourth one is the NIC, who plays a major technological role and also leading role in providing for the correct implementation of the services in this particular area. So with these four players, it is something like a synergistic effect that we are taking forward to implement the services already elaborated. And looking into the future, I think sir had already elaborated on this usage of the cards and the information in an integrated way. What I feel is it is quite common for people working in private. They have different cards for different entrances going into the coming out. So instead of that, I think the future how I dream is there should be only one card with the citizen. We should have for unique ID or even for driving license or for in fact passport also if it is quite possible. So all these services can be integrated because there is lot of R&D has been already done, lot of R&D yet to be done, because this Costa operating system, it provides a platform for storing onto the chip. So how best we can utilize the memory, how best that information can be integrated information can be put into that for a citizen, so that with the final aim of having just one card for the citizen. And nowadays what we can see is different departments are producing different cards for different purposes. I think the future can be that these can be integrated. That's what I wish in this particular day.
With that, we have entrepreneur's perspective how these smart cards will be helping in achieving a smarter government.
Well, first thing is that I've been listening to Sanazar and stuff, so they have more or less covered everything. There is not really too much to add, but from an entrepreneur's perspective, what I can say is that we've been watching the evolution of e-governance in India since about 2002. They of course started much earlier, even thinking so. It was already, SCOSTA had already been defined by the time we started. So when we saw the standards, the reason why we entered the business, so it's kind of framing our career started because of NASA initiatives at that point of time, and we are still there. For whatever reasons, it did take time because we have a large government and we have a lot of factors to consider. So it was a lot of lull for us. But what I can tell you now is that at the time that we are sitting together here, it has reached a point from an entrepreneur's perspective where it is going to slow. It's finally going to take off. There are a lot of projects that have very successfully been delivered already in the field. Okay, all using these open standards and this technology. They have been tested in the field. We ourselves are involved in certain projects like that. We we have of course kept pace with the evolution of Skosta. Sinha Sabrin probably have the fact that Skosta has also evolved as time went with their learnings. So there have been newer features, and it has had to also address different things, because it started initially as a driving license operating system, as the name suggests. But today it is going to be a part of every individual's identity, and not just that, even his passport to go anywhere outside the country. Right, and they are both different Skostas. So there are two Skostas we are talking about. There's going to be probably a third one, which is going to be with the public infrastructure enabled. This evolution will also come. It's inevitable. It may come today, it may come few months, a few years down the line. But so they have a big role to play from that perspective in guiding how this technology evolves. Of course, we are probably the next step after what NIC does, because we do the OS itself. Alright, and we license it to third parties like HCL or other companies, which then use the card to prepare the card and roll out in the field. So there are multiple stakeholders with different perspectives involved here. What Sanjeev would do, probably we would do something different, but we are all part of the same ecosystem. Today, of course, as Chakravarti Sahab said, there is just going to be the identity of the person stored in the card. But NIC has already taken care of the space where, if required, there can be more applications residing on the card. And you don't have to change the card. No, that's the best part. You don't have to change the card. So there could be a case where some departments or some ministries or some business cases will evolve where they will decide that no, there has to be a separate card. But there might be still some business cases evolving, and they evolve. You have to have a 20-year perspective for these kind of issuances. You cannot have a 1 year.
Again, added to it, Skosta provides, technology can be a true multi-application. Many applications sitting on the same card, same chip, firewall to each other, and if some of them want to share each other's data, that is also possible. And fortunately, all the cards which have been issued currently are following the same technology, for example, driving license, NPR, LPS, or whatever. So in future, suppose now they have decided to go differently, but in future if they decide to converge to each other, that will be possible because all of them are exposed.
So, how was it ensured that different states, different ministries follow these standards?
Simple merit.
Okay.
Everyone can read the merit behind his post, and they,
Because that's a natural force, It will, water will flow from top to down. It will never flow from down to up.
There was no direction,
no, from transport angle there was. Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, they had notified through the Gazette that any driving license issued in the country has to come like this. But then after that, various projects like NPR, e-passport.
In our case, it was slightly different. So Ministry of Road, entire cost is borne by us. We issue.
Right.
States are not authorized. In transport applications, it is a state subject.
Yeah.
NEA, passport, it is central subject. So they can implement.
They had the option to go for some other technology. But looking to the merits, which is Skosta provides to them, they have opted for Skosta.
Other interoperability, where from I would get?
That's true.
See, when I joined 7 years back, so many smarter companies, they always used to come tell, this is my technology, I am the best. Somebody would come there, I am the best. We go by it. Dr. Garola and Sinha. Whatever they would say, we follow you.
Totally.
And till today, that's it. Nobody has claimed this. Secondly, what Skosta has provided to the OS developer. Whenever my PSUs, they float the tender, there is no company. Everybody is given the equal chance. Ultimately, our criteria is A1 vendor, but everyone is being given chance. You supply, so this is the quantity. I will divide it into 2 or 3. So there is no backlash from that one. If I give to a particular company to entirely create the card and supply, there is only one person. Other person would start bickering, they start complaining, court case and all those things. Today we are all open. We give platform everybody to compete.
And that's how it started actually, initially when just at the initial stages there were a lot of court cases. Projects would just be announced and they would end up in courts. They would have to be structured. But today everybody is busy. Their plates are more than full, and nobody thinks about going to the courts anymore. It is also because of this. Otherwise, in this country there's too much freedom for the citizens, and they would all end up in court for
most of them are
these kind
Indian
of things.
Most of them are Indian only,
Yeah.
not outsiders.
Yeah.
It's really the security standardization, ease of operation, and open plane, level plane.
All is there. You see this, the wonder of this entire.
There is no question of considering any other.
This is the biggest see, this is very right. Costa has really created a pull, but before creating a pull, lot of what you call trials has been done. There a lot of money has been wasted. Even if you talk about FI also, after a lot of experiments, they virtually went on to the Costa. So that is what I understand Samir is coming from. Can't we have a directive? Can't we have some governance body who can really push this? Because as of now,
With the NIC, they have done it already, you know, there's idea, but
it is coming as a pull only, but it's, nobody is actually forced. If you go to any state or any government department, first, my feeling is that, my personal feeling is that things grow naturally. I mean, they grow best if they are allowed to grow naturally. And naturally, they grow if they have a merit. Without merit, whatever enforcement you put, whatever mandate you provide statutorily, I mean, they cannot grow unless until they are really, you know.
I fully agree with you.
Yeah.
India being a democratic country and state has their own rights, because the working is pretty difficult. But I still feel there got to be a larger role.
Yeah, you are right. Many times what happens? People end up adopting some other standard, other technology. Then they start feeling the brunt of it, and then they come back with this kind of open text source or technology like Costa. So it only wastes the time and money, both. I mean, so it is more robust approach, but it takes a little more time in evolving, and he is right. That.